All right. I am waiting on the IRS, so I'm going to do a little bit of house searching and show you how I would do this in my area. So I'm going to go to Indiana, and I'm doing this specifically because if you search for a city, sometimes it'll block off the city for you, and I'm not really that interested specifically in city. Let me back up just a little bit. So if this is your first time using Zillow, you can kind of see a lot of different things. So I searched the state Indiana. So this is the whole state of Indiana. Indianapolis is the capital here. That's a pretty big city of about 2.5 million people. My main focus and where my rental properties are up here in South Bend. It's just under Michigan. It's kind of close to the lake here, which is really nice. It's also got a direct train to Chicago. And it's pretty close to a lot of different cities. So Chicago's close. Fort Wayne is another pretty good city that's close by. Indianapolis is only about 2 hours, give or take. There's a nice highway that goes pretty quickly. Toledo is not too far. Detroit's a little bit further. You're talking maybe 3 hours there at that point. But it's a nice central location. There's a lot of good industry there. So I'm going to zoom in now. And when I reference South Bend, sometimes I'll talk about South Bend, but really I'm mentioning South Bend and Mishawaka. Mishawaka is, in all honesty, it's kind of a nicer side of South Bend. It's a different city, technically, but it's usually a little bit nicer homes. It's more residential. South Bend is a little bit more of like the business district in a way. Mishawaka is more residential, shopping, lots of restaurants. It's really nice. Both have kind of some historic districts. Mishawaka's historic district is a little more like quaint. The other thing too, just to kind of note, Mishawaka has some really nice stuff around the river. They've done a really good job of making some nice parks. There's some cool restaurant places. I wonder if I can zoom in on some of the cool stuff. Let's see here. So you could kind of see though, there's like this really cool Buter Park thing. Let me do, yeah. Really pretty. There's like some little waterfall things. There's little bridges, walking bridges you could cross. This area, there's now an ice skating rink here. This has a lot of little restaurants and breweries, and there's a couple different restaurants all in this area. But it's a cool little area. And then there's another really nice big park right here. So anyway, that's like zooming in a little bit on sorry, I shouldn't click like that. Zooming in a little on Mishawaka in particular. The prices in Mishawaka generally are a little bit higher. They're also generally a fewer, just nicer schools, better schools. Fantastic. I'm back. My taxes are paid. All right, so back to Mishawaka. So in general, when I'm looking at properties, Mishawaka and South Bend, I don't treat them equally, simply because the school districts in Mishawaka are generally much more desirable. The property types in Mishawaka are a little bit more desirable, and so therefore a lot of Mishawaka is a little bit better, just as far as investment opportunities. South Bend has more homes. There's also some, I would say, more room for gentrification, things like that. But just in general, the school districts aren't quite as good. It's not as, a lot of South Bend isn't quite as like family friendly, is probably the best way I could put it, as Mishawaka. Mishawaka has a little more of like a hometown feel. South Bend feels a little more like a city. I know they're basically the same thing, but yeah, that's the best way I could describe it. Now, a couple areas that I think are places I would kind of avoid in general in South Bend, simply because generally there's a lot more Section 8 housing, some more crime. Housing prices are lower. In general, tenants just don't treat them as well in the areas. The school districts are bad. Kind of all of those things combined. And it might not be one of those. It could be a couple of those. But in general, the west side of South Bend, there's a part of it I would kind of avoid. And so if you're looking at South Bend here, if this is the main access, this main road up and down, really kind of starting from like downtown here, um, through, if you follow this big road up here, kind of this road down, and then kind of following 31, cutting around that whole area I would pretty much avoid. Not completely entirely. If there was a slam dunk deal or something that made sense, that would make sense. But that's a triangle I would pretty much avoid. Even bleeding into that area, I would still be pretty careful. Now, once you're past Lincoln Way a little bit, suddenly it becomes an okay area. The airport is kind of out here, the South Bend Regional Airport. So again, if you kind of follow, this was the road we were following earlier. If you kind of make that break and go up to the airport, that also is an area I would kind of try to avoid. If you're following Lincoln Way, though, actually, this is probably this Portage Avenue, once you're kind of following this road and really close off of that road is a pretty decent area to invest in. The prices are pretty good. It's not necessarily in a bad area. I actually have a couple rental properties in what they call this far northwest area. So one of mine I think is somewhere over here. Keller Park is a really nice area, but again, it kind of goes up in price here because you've got the proximity to downtown, and then also the river is kind of a nice little water feature thing. Once you're on the inside of the river, almost all of that is pretty good as far as opportune areas. This River Park district right here, where the river kind of flattens out a little bit, is a great area. I have one rental property there. Rental prices have gone up quite a bit recently, and home prices have gone up. A lot of it has been just because of a lot of the new development kind of on the other side of the river, the restaurants and just some of the fun stuff. So although it's a South Bend district, it feels kind of like that Mishawaka area. So that's a good little area. Another place, though, I would kind of look to avoid, and this one maybe not entirely, but I would just be a lot more careful, is following this 31 kind of on the south side of the of South Bend. So we kind of cut out all of this here already, but I would also say a lot of this area down on the south side, even maybe like if I was drawing it, I don't know if you can kind of see, but on the south side, and then kind of following this Calvert Milburn Boulevard area just a little bit, and then kind of a little bit around this 31 area, kind of following that T, I would be a little more careful. There's just some lower income areas, a little more crime. Once you're kind of out into Twickenham Drive, though, very, very nice area. Erskine Manor, Twickenham Hills is nice. Down here on the south side, for the most part, is pretty nice as well. And then you kind of start getting out into the country. And the country can be, it can be a good place to flip. In general, though, there will be less renting out there. And so when you're looking at the types of investors you're flipping to or what you're doing, you can just kind of know there are less rentals out in the country in general. Prices in the country are a little bit higher just because you have more land. It's a little bit nicer, all of that. And there are some decent school districts down in the south. Mishawaka, most all of Mishawaka, I would be pretty game on. There's really not a lot of bad places in Mishawaka. So you can kind of know, and I'll probably try to include a map of like the danger zones, places I would try to avoid. If you go up on the north side of South Bend, so here's downtown South Bend, there's a hospital right here and everything. This Notre Dame area is a fantastic area to invest, but prices are much higher. And so you'll see just a huge discrepancy. This will be our first zoom, but we can kind of zoom in just to show the difference of the kinds of properties you'll find in this area. Notre Dame is a fantastic university in the area. They're basically like an Ivy League school. So here you're seeing pretty close. This is off of a cemetery as well. $250,000 homes, $300,000 homes, and these are like 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,600 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,200 square feet. That's off market. It doesn't show anything. Let me do on the other side of the road, though, because that might actually be better. These are like backed up against a cemetery. But here you've got 4 bedroom, 2 bath, almost $500,000, 1,900 square feet. 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,700 square feet, $360,000. So a 3-1, this is kind of crazy. A 3-1 with that much square footage, that's a lot of open room. They might have a basement, it looks like. Maybe that's finished. Anyway, very, very high prices. So let's back up. That's like right next to Notre Dame, just to give you a difference. And this is all within a 15-minute drive, just so you can kind of see the difference. So we were right up here near Eddy Street Commons, which is a really fun shopping area. Then I'm going to go, not even to a bad area, but we're going to go into this Portage area where I've invested a little bit. You know what? Let's look at College Street. All right. Right here. A 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom. So this is really nice setup. 1,600 square foot, $145,000 or $146,000. A 3-1. Wow. 2,388 square feet for just over 100,000. Now, obviously, a big part of this could be the finishing and how recently they were redone. But if you zoom out a little bit, you can see a lot of the average prices, and most of them are very, very far from, anything that was in that area. So 3-1, let's see, a 3-1. So some of the home types are different too. You can kind of see that even in just what we're pulling up here. A 3-1, 1,600 square feet. This one doesn't even look that bad, but I mean, you're a third of the price, and locationally, you're just across the river. I mean, this would be less than a 10-minute drive, maybe a 5-minute drive. And so that's what the school district, the difference in school district, the difference in the neighborhood can mean. The Eddy Street is just a really cool area of a lot of good shops and restaurants. There's like an Urban Outfitters. I don't know if you guys know Urban Outfitters, Five Guys. One of my favorite pizza places, Blaze, is right over here. But you can zoom in. I mean, here, a 7-2. So this is probably a rental for students. You're looking at $755,000 for that property. A 5-2, 1,400 square feet. So again, it's probably set up for student rentals, $325,000. So what you could see, though, is if you go further from Notre Dame, go down south, we're still not even that far away, but you'll see prices suddenly come down here. We're back down into the hundreds, 200,000s range. Now, some of these homes might be smaller. Well, that's much smaller. But let's see here. Yeah, these are under 100 or under 1,000 square feet. A 3-1, 1,500 square feet. So suddenly the prices are much lower here. So this is kind of just to give you a feel for Zillow. Now I'm going to do a couple things here. One, I'm going to do some basic filters and just show you how I would look through some properties. So we're already in the Indiana area. We're going to look for sale. Our price, we're going to look for, I'm going to do no minimum, up to maybe 150,000. I like to do a minimum of 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and that's not my ideal rental type, but I'll explain why I do that. Essentially, there can be often hidden equity in these bigger homes. So primarily, we're going to be looking for homes that are distressed or could be flipped. And often, there's homes that are built with a lot more space than they need for the amount of rooms. And so it's not hard to add a half bath or another full bath or another bedroom, and you significantly increase the equity in the home while you're doing the renovations. So if you look for lower, sometimes you can find a 2-1 that's like 1,600 square feet or 1,800 square feet. And I can almost not even have to look at the layout and know I can probably add a bedroom or a bathroom or maybe both. So we'll do that. Home types. Generally, I'm not doing lots. Condos, multifamilies you can keep open, but homes are probably the most important. Multifamily I keep on. There's not as many, but just to kind of keep an eye on the rates. Apartments, and I'll keep manufactured on. And then I've probably got something. Let's see. What's limiting me here? For some reason, I'm not seeing like any. Let's do that. Apply, save search. Okay. So I don't know why I'm not seeing any properties. Let me pause this and I'll come back. Okay, we're back. I found my issue was under here, I was only looking at foreclosed. And so there were properties that were already foreclosed on. So I opened it back up to owner posted, agent listed, new construction. I'm going to skip because that's something we're just not looking at. Foreclosures, auctions, foreclosed, pre-foreclosures. Pre-foreclosures could be a really good one. Generally, they're distressed properties and people that need to get out of it quickly. So you can even do this as a filter and really quickly see if there's any pre-foreclosures. And here you've got a couple of them. So these are up into Michigan, which wouldn't be bad. I don't know that area quite as well, but it's something you could keep in mind. But we will do all of those, apply. And so now you can see all the dots of the things that are listed. The closer you get, the more details you'll see. So right off the bat, as I look at this, there's two things that really quickly catch my eye. One is this 82 in River Park, because I know that area. This would be, okay, it's a very small home. That's part of the reason. Still probably undervalued, in my opinion. If it was perfectly rehabbed, could be worth a little bit more. The internal pictures look pretty bad, and that might be why it's listed for 82. There's no Zestimate on this. I'll show you some that show a Zestimate, and that can be really nice because you can see, oh, this should be valued at X, given the current condition that the computer can see. So based on the pictures and things like that, it was foreclosed on. And so sometimes this can be a good opportunity to get it at a lower rate. It's listed for 81.8. What you could do, so it's a very small home, 648 square feet. Anything under 1,000 square feet, in my view, is kind of considered small. Anything under 800, I would consider very small. But for like a single person or something, it could be a good home. So what you could do is zoom in. This is the property, and you can look at the properties on the same block even. And what's important here is it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and the amount of square feet. So you want to try to find something comparable. So this is a little bit bigger. It's also 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. It's a little bit bigger, but that is significantly more. Let's see what this one is. That's quite a bit bigger. That's bigger. Okay, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a little bit bigger, but also you're looking at 127. So one thing you can kind of do, well, this is off market. So I know we're just kind of scrolling, but this is something I would do as I'm looking at these. Given what we just saw, some 2-1s and some smaller homes, this is listed probably because it's slightly distressed for around 90,000. It's got almost 1,600 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. This could probably be more like this. Oh yeah, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So square foot wise and basically bedrooms, bathrooms, it's the same. But the price is almost $90,000 different. And so for that reason, I would, as I'm wholesaling, as I'm looking at these, it looks like the outside needs some fixing up. It doesn't look great. The inside doesn't look terrible, but it also, to me, this looks like it's set up as a rental. Yeah. You can usually tell rental by by the kitchen. The kitchen looks pretty plain Jane, and the countertops are really plain Jane, and the appliances are pretty plain Jane. Nothing against Jane. Jane's great. I have an Aunt Jane who's awesome. But this is something I would look at and I would go, this could be a really good opportunity probably to buy from an investor, because it looks like it's a rental. Find out who owns it through the county records and see if they would be interested in a all cash offer. And something you would probably, well, we'll get into other details here, but this looks like a really interesting potential of like, I would like to look into this and see if we can get this under contract for a good deal. So here's a good example of the Zestimate. It's saying it's probably worth around this. The rent estimate, though, is $1,500. This is more based on the neighborhood and location. And so what this tells me personally, so generally homes should rent for about 1% of their total value on a monthly basis. So what this tells me is even the rental market is saying this home, if it was fixed up properly, should be worth about $150,000. Does that make sense? 1% of the total value here. So it's under market value. The shape of it, it doesn't actually look that bad. It looks mostly cosmetic. So you could probably buy this, put in $30,000 into this and have it ready to go. And it would be looking great with maybe about $30,000 worth of work, or even less if the roof's in good shape. So I'm not going to go into all the details on this one, but this one just caught my eye. I'll just kind of throw that out. So coming back to this one, foreclosed, you can see, yeah, there's probably some equity in there, especially if you can get it for maybe $60,000 or maybe $70,000. Then you might be in a good position to do a pretty simple flip and, either wholesale it or flip it. Let's back up. So that was one that caught my eye there because I like that River Park area. Also, the further east you go down this river, the better. You're more into Mishawaka. There's more of the fun stuff right in here, in my opinion. All of the main shopping in Mishawaka is kind of up in here, which is also very close, which is nice. The other property, when we zoom out a little bit, that caught my eye is this 47 in the Keller Park area. So this is, again, if it's too far west, like here, I'm really not very interested in that home. Well, it's foreclosed. I'm slightly interested in that home, but I know the area. And so that area is a little more risky. So we'll look at these two just as a comparable, just so you can kind of see why this one is much more attractive to me than this one. So 47, it's a small home, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. So it is much smaller. Let's see here. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. These are empty lots, which is kind of nice. If that's, you right there. Man, a 4-bedroom 1. Oof. So you know what? I'm taking this back. Given the property prices right around there, this is like a smaller sub pocket. Especially on that same block, I don't think it actually would be worth it. Just because all of the properties are not redone. They're all pretty small. They're all pretty undervalued. So maybe this is just a tiny little pocket to, stay away from. But now let's go back to this one over here. 51,000. I like the square foot here. This is a good amount of square feet. It tells me I could probably add another bedroom or a half bathroom or a bathroom. It definitely looks like it's an older style, which is great, meaning it probably hasn't been updated in a while. The price per square foot is very good, very attractive. There's not other pictures of this, unfortunately. You get the road view, but what's kind of nice about the road view is you could see the surrounding homes, and they're really not too bad. I actually, this guy's not great. But maybe you pick up the property across the street as well. But these homes all look pretty decent. The lawns are all pretty well taken care of, which is nice. They're not bad homes. And so, given that this is an older styled home, hasn't been updated probably in a while, it might be somebody who's owned it for a while. It's got a detached garage. So here's some of the things you could do in the facts and figures, which I really like. So it's foreclosed on. That's interesting. 1,560. Oh my gosh, I'm doing Arabic inversing numbers. 1,556 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. Here you can kind of see how hot this is. It's been listed for a while. Now that is interesting. 23 views, 1 save, and it's been on here for almost 2 years. That's interesting. That kind of tells me, there might be an issue here, maybe something pretty significant, but it also could imply maybe a good time to get this price down even lower. There's really not a lot of information here. So it was foreclosed last year, and this is the foreclosure price. The bank is now listing it here. And so essentially, you can kind of read this here. The foreclosure amount is $2,800, give or take, let's say. So the bank owns it essentially for $2,800. They want to make a little bit of a profit, and they're trying to sell it at a market rate. Now, generally here there's a little more data, maybe because it's a foreclosure, there's just not quite as much. Here, it looks like it was sold back in 2022. So I don't know if this is still on the market or not. This is kind of confusing, to be honest. It was foreclosed on, maybe? I actually haven't seen many like this. Maybe this already was foreclosed on. Somebody picked it up and bought it for 27. Yeah, I think this is what happened, is this is already showing it as a foreclosure. So this home was picked up for about $28,000. It's already well worth more than that. So anyway, the grade schools and middle schools here are decent. So Kennedy is a good one. LaSalle's great. I don't know Rise Up Academy. It's not rated very well. But good schools, that makes a really big difference. What's cool here is you can scroll further down and see similar homes and see, oh, this one is for sale. It's a 2-1, 1,500 square feet. This is a 3-2, 1,400 square feet, both about $50,000. Now, something you'll see, this is a little less important, the walking score, biking score. Most people in America drive a lot. The only reason that would make a really big difference is if you're in a big city. People might care a little bit more about that. The similar homes here, what you'll see is both of these are listed right around $50,000. And that is often very purposeful. A lot of times you'll find these homes that are listed right around the $50,000 mark because you can't get a mortgage from almost any lender for less than $50,000. And so a lot of times they're trying to attract more buyers by placing it right at the point where you can get a mortgage, but not over that. Now, if you're a cash buyer, you can buy it at anything. And so if it's not actually worth that and they're struggling to sell it for, $50,000 or whatever, sometimes that's an opportune place to buy it and then flip it. So not an entirely bad spot. We'll kind of look in and see. Yeah, so the neighborhood, the comps don't look fantastic. I'm kind of surprised because some of these houses don't look bad from the street view. But, price-wise, it just might be kind of hard to buy that and flip that. Now, if you got it at that foreclosure price, that would be good. But other than that, it's probably not a great one there. So this is one of the ways you can utilize Zillow and do some deep dives and finding good deals. So some of the other things I would look at really quickly, I would go, okay, Mishawaka, 114 is not bad. It's pretty close to the river. Image on the way. It's foreclosure. 3-1. There's not a lot of listings for sale, to be honest, and that is kind of an interesting time of the life cycle of real estate. This is an interesting one. It looks like they're maybe needing a new roof. It's foreclosed as well. So the foreclosure amount seems pretty high. Let's see if it's foreclosed 91,741 listed by the bank. So again, I'm wondering if this actually sold then at a foreclosure auction. That might be what this is detailing. I honestly haven't. One of the things that I clicked on for foreclosures, I think, is giving me past foreclosures. And that's why we're seeing some of this. But you can see the tax assessments. It's worth more than what it foreclosed on. Something else that can be kind of helpful. Do they show? There's no Zestimate on this one. Often it'll tell you the rental market, and then based on the Zestimate costs, what a mortgage on something like this might cost. So if somebody really needed to know, I wouldn't use this exactly, but if you wanted quick numbers in Zillow, you could do this with a 20% down payment. The home price, it's pulling from the price that they've got. 30-year fixed is the normal. Interest rate here is not right. Right now, it's probably more likely an 8% interest rate. And then it'll probably pull some of this stuff from record, the property taxes and insurance. And that looks about right. So here your monthly cost would be about $820, given the whole package. So what can be nice is if this rents for, let's say, $1,200, you've got a little bit of margin to pay, your PITI, your property insurance, tax, and expenses, and then also a property manager, and still have some net cash flow on it to cover damages and fixes and all of those things. So anyway, this is hopefully kind of just a good little overview. We are pretty limited in only looking up to 150K. So if we go up to 200, I wonder what we'll see. Still not a whole lot more. You see a few more in the Mishawaka area. That's about it. So anyway, this is a great tool. I love using Zillow. This will all be homes that are listed on the MLS. And so you can find homes that are off market. I mean, you can zoom in anywhere you want and just click a home. And if it's been recently listed, you'll often see the pictures from the listing. And so I don't know how long they keep these photos up. I've seen some that have been up for like 10 years. And so it can be a good way to look inside of a home. If you find a distressed property potentially online, you can click it and then try to see if there's internal photos to see, this one has, it looked like hardwood floors. It's actually not hardwood floors, it's tile. You can see what the walls look like. You can see what the room layout kind of looks like, all that stuff, the bathroom, the kitchen. But that can be a really helpful way to, as you're doing different strategies like driving for dollars, basically using Google Maps, the little yellow man as you go down the street and look for distressed properties. You can then simultaneously use Zillow to then see, let's see if there's any data on this home, what it's renting for, if it's, in a good area, when it last sold. So price history, you could see, it was bought in 2019 for this amount. Sometimes you can find, tax information. Sometimes, though, you could find other information that helps you find the owner. And so all of that can be helpful. The rent estimate, the Zestimate, based on what it should probably be worth. A lot of these are relative numbers and they change. And so it's not anything that's fixed. The Zestimates will change sometimes on a weekly basis. But I kind of share all of that to show this tool, Zillow, how you can kind of use it, the different types of filters you can have. Here, actually, let me do this. You can also put in specific square feet amounts, the years that you're looking for if you would like to do that. You can also do must have an AC. Sometimes that's helpful. I wouldn't really worry that much about that one. But then keywords is another really big one here at the very bottom. If you're specifically looking for a duplex or triplex, or something of that nature, you could put that in right there, hit apply, and it will filter that out for you. So again, this is hopefully a decent overview of the South Bend, Mishawaka area. My parents, I grew up on the south side of South Bend. Let me see, Miami Street. This is my road. We were just past New Road. It kind of bends. We were right before Osborne. Oh no, we were after Osborne. We were right before Pierce. Yeah. So you can kind of zoom in here and see. Is this the home I grew up in? Wow. It's worth more than what my parents sold it for. They recently moved, but this was the home I grew up in. My parents bought it when it was a very small house, and they did 2 different remodels and upgrades and additions. But they recently sold this a couple years ago, and had a great real estate agent that helped them sell it for a good amount. It's not anywhere near what the value showed right there. I shouldn't say anywhere near, but it's gone up in value quite a bit since they sold it, but a good little home. So they sold it, and you could still see from the sale, our family pictures are kind of posted there, me and my sisters and my grandma. But this is what I'm saying is it could be a really good way to find what some of the interior looked like recently. Sometimes this can be a little misleading because sometimes the pictures are so old that it actually doesn't look like that really anymore. The pictures could be 10 years old, and now the walls are all banged up, and maybe there's stuff that's broken all over or whatever it may be. And so you do need to kind of watch out for that and not trust the pictures too much. But yeah, this was the childhood home. I wonder if they have a winter picture here. They had a nice big green yard. We had a little volleyball net out there, basketball court. I actually really miss this home now that I'm looking at it. I wish I could have bought it, but I couldn't live in it from over here. So anyway, the country can be a great place as well, but like I said, fewer renters, properties are usually more expensive, but it's a nice area to look to for the right kind of investors. Your pool to sell the contracts to might be a little smaller though. So I'll wrap this video up. If you have any other questions, I know this was long, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you get more comfortable with the Zillow. This was a little bit of an overview. We could do some more videos like this though as well.